Thank you, Chris. Okay, so calling to order the Regulations Committee meeting, 8:15:22 at 12:02 p.m. There isn't a whole lot, as you can see from the draft. My email indicated, we have 6A to take a look at, and I apologize if I didn't get quite get the tweaking quite right on 7 and 9, but can we start with section 6A? Were there any comments about the wording there? Okay.
This seems to represent what we talked about, I believe. So looks good to me.
Okay. Any other comments? Kathy,
Nope.
Are you there? I thought I heard Kathy. I'm sorry, Gail. Okay, so Gail, you said no. All right.
Yeah,
So,
I'm good.
pardon me. 6A is okay, and if you will just scroll down to 7A and give me your thoughts on subpart 7A.
This is
Looks good
Greg.
to me.
Go ahead. Was that you, Gail?
Yeah, I just said it looks good. I think you said the same thing at the same time.
I did, and I actually have a question about on the second line. Polling questions, the appropriate length of the course, which, and then it's these words: evaluate the LSP's performance. And I'm not sure how we evaluate performance on this.
Yeah, that's why I didn't put it in, Greg. You're right to raise that question, because that did come up at the last meeting, and I just kind of didn't know how to work that in. So I'm open to suggestions.
What about just verify attendance?
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
This is Jamie. I was just saying, why not just say verify attendance rather than evaluate performance? Because that's really all we're doing with the polling questions.
Right. Maybe
Yes.
evaluate the LSP's attendance. Just say it
Yeah,
that way.
that's all it is.
Okay, hold on. Evaluate.
We're not
LSP.
evaluating. I think Jamie's correct. We're not evaluating anything. We're just verifying that they were there.
Yeah.
So verify
So the section 7A, just to be clear, live webinar requests for course approval require polling questions appropriate to the length of the course, which evaluate or which verify the LSP's attendance. Is that what you want?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you need another comma at the end of attendance.
Yeah, yeah. Which verify the LSP's
Do we spell out the number that are appropriate to the length of the course somewhere else? Because I feel like that's a little vague.
We do not. We did not. It was there where it was.
Yeah, we went back and forth on that in the last meeting, in terms of having language in there for like a minimum amount per hour versus, but it varied based on if it's like a 2-hour course versus an 8-hour course. I want to put some language in there.
Here's the thing. We're going to approve the course, so they will tell us how many polling questions, and we'll decide if it's appropriate for the length of the course.
That's true.
Yeah, we intentionally left it
All
vague, so give us flexibility.
Yeah. All right. So it should read which verifies, pardon me, the LSP's attendance, and there are no further changes to section 7A, 7B.
Just to go back to that for a second, whether it's here or elsewhere, we should make it very clear that the course approval submission should then include the number of polling questions that are going to be asked.
Okay, Jamie, where do you suggest that that text be placed?
It probably should be wherever we say what the approval request has to include.
Yeah,
But
I thought
think
there
we
was
say
another
that
section.
Okay, that is, I believe section 9 maybe. So let's talk about 7B. And Jamie, hold that thought, and we'll
Yep.
include it in the following sections. Okay, so 7B, if you can take a look at that language and see whether or not it's okay.
Criteria based should be hyphenated.
Okay.
It's fine to me.
Certified if the attendee has successfully completed the course and achieved a passing score of at least. Yep. The rest is fine.
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, hi, Kathy. Okay, so 7B, criteria based. Okay. All right, let's scroll down to section 9. And I'll take your comments.
Yep. Credit.
So are we saying they have to answer every polling question and can't miss one?
I don't
We
know.
better not, because you can miss one accidentally because for some
Yes.
reason it doesn't go through, or I've had that happen.
Yeah, me too.
They cut it
You
off.
have, okay. Go ahead.
And just say the appropriate number of polling questions.
Well,
And
Okay,
that will,
so
they have a record. I mean, I believe that they have a record anyway if someone is there. Actually, that's right. That's only if they're logged on in. Sorry.
okay, hold on one second, because Millie's texting me and saying she's having audio issues. We'll have to see what that is, but can you again give me the language, Greg or Gail or Kathy, whoever? I'm sorry.
I think we're getting into
section?
a tricky spot if we start assigning details to the polling questions. So I would suggest a licensee has successfully attended 100% of the course and leave it at that.
Licensee has, hold on. Licensee has successfully attended, what was the last part of that, Kathy?
100% of the course, period.
yeah, she didn't say successfully. She said the licensee has attended 100% of the course, period.
Okay. All right. Are there any comments on the language then? So section A should read a certification statement from the course instructor that the licensee has attended 100% of the course, and strike the language that's there. Is that right?
Well, how about we say this? If we said has attended 100% of the course and responded to polling questions, it doesn't have to be 100%.
I think being silent on that might be clearer.
That's fine with me. I just wanted to
Yeah,
throw it out there.
I like the original.
I understand where you're going, Gail.
Okay, Paul likes the original.
Successfully complete 100%
Greg
of the
says-
course, period. Yeah, that would be my vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it's fine with me not to have the polling questions thing in there.
Okay. A certification statement from the course instructor that the licensee has attended 100% of the course, period. Is that right?
Well, technically semicolon, but yes.
Yes.
Is it course instructor or course provider? Instructor? Instructor better?
No, that's the course provider. You're right.
Okay, you want course provider?
That's
Yes,
what's
they're the
there.
ones that are checking. The instructor is not.
Well, actually, the course instructor in workshops and things, conferences, but I'll add course provider and strike instructor. Okay. Okay, I'm striking in instructor and substituting provider in section 9. Is there any? Are there any other changes to this section or discussion? All right. Are there any, Jamie, your comment? Have you sorted out where you think it's most appropriately placed?
I have not. Give me a
Hello?
minute.
Okay, sure.
While Jamie's thinking, I'll just throw out there that today is apparently National Roller Coaster Day for anybody who cares.
Okay, Millie's joined us. Millie's joined us now. She said that she had to log in again, so she should be online.
Thank you,
Jamie,
Beverly.
we're waiting. You're welcome. We're just waiting a couple of seconds. We're ahead of schedule, so.
So I think it belongs right back where we were in the highlighted section under 6B, the request for approval of continuing education courses, so maybe it's just a matter of adding a sentence there that says the number of proposed polling questions should be included in the course approval request.
Okay, so you're at 6B, Jamie, complete request for approval. Go ahead.
Yeah, right where we're looking under 7A there. I think there would be fine because that's under the subheading of 6, which is course approval requests.
Right. So you're saying that I should add there are 5, 6, 7, 8, 7. There are, let's see, under B, there are a number of subparts. So exactly where should it go, Jamie?
I just mean under the 7A where we're looking right now, where it just says on demand and live webinar course for approval must include the following.
Okay.
And then under A, just add a sentence at the end that request for approval should include the number of polling questions.
Okay. So under 7A, it should 7A, it should include after course, excuse me, after course provider. After course provider, what's the language, Jamie?
Request for course live webinar course approval should include the number of polling questions that will be asked during the course.
Just say the number of polling questions that will be included.
Should include. Okay. I can't, Gail, you've got an echo, and so.
No, I don't have an echo because I'm not with anybody else, so I don't have an echo.
Just should include the proposed number of polling questions, something like that.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jamie.
Okay. I have that. Are there any comments, any further comments on the section overall or specifically the sections that we discussed today? All right, I will add these changes and it will be reviewed at the next board meeting. And we're adjourned at 12:17 p.m. And I'm all set. Thank you very much. David, if you're on the line, is David on the line?
It
Okay.
doesn't look like David is on the line.
Okay. I did think he was attending, so I don't know what happened.
If not, we can have Gail.
Yeah, hold on,
Yep.
I don't have it up on my own screen, unfortunately. So I'll have to
Okay,
do
Chris
it.
will put, hold on, Chris will put it up. Chris, would you please put up the continuing ed agenda?
Yep, it's up.
Thank you. All right, there you
Okay.
go, Gail.
All right, all set. I'd like to call the Continuing Education Committee meeting to order. It is 12:18. And is there any thing on the virtual draft minutes?
Yep, the minutes are posted. I do probably need to go through. I haven't proofed them in the last, reviewed them in the past couple of weeks. But during the month of July, my programming month, I was able to get with our, meet with our webmaster. And so the meeting minutes are up, I believe through May 2022. But I do have to go through them and just make sure. So you guys are free to take a look. They're up.
Okay, is there any old business? And I'm just checking to see any that I might have. Okay. Any old business? No? Okay, so to the new business. 1 second, just switching screens. Okay, the first course is a course by the folks at Rutgers for the MGP conference. It is listed as they're requesting half a technical credit for an hour of attendance at the conferences and 1 technical credit per hour for the workshops. And it's going to be held in September at Rutgers. Any comments? Or sorry, does anybody want to start the discussion? No? Any comments at all?
You know, it looks like a balanced agenda. That's pretty much what I could get out of it. It's just contemporary topics.
Sorry, I can't, I'm having trouble hearing. Millie, is that you?
Yes, it was me. So the
And
topics
so-
seem to be on par with current dialogue in the environmental world.
So are you recommending we approve the course?
I am.
Second? Anyone?
Second,
All in favor? So I guess
You
I'll
have
go
to do a
through the-
roll.
Yeah, sorry.
You have to do.
I just
You
realized.
have to do a roll. You have to do a roll call vote, Gail. Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through the list that I have. Craig,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
I say yes. Greg,
yes?
Jamie,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Millie. Millie is muted.
Yes.
Okay, and Paul,
I'm a yes.
and nobody else seems to be on. So I think that's it. Okay, the second course approval request is from the AEHS Foundation. This is the Soils Conference at UMass. It
Okay,
is-
I'm sorry, Gail. Gail,
Oh.
I'm sorry. 1 second. So it was approved as indicated here. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and the Soils Conference at UMass, they are requesting half a technical credit per hour for the regular conference part, and then the 1 technical credit per hour of attendance at the workshops. And I did have one, so I guess I'll open it up for discussion.
See that one of the workshops is partly taught by Mass DEP personnel, workshop 3. So,
And they requested regulatory credit, I believe. Is that correct?
Right. Okay, so let me explain what happened. AEHS made the submission to me and I reviewed it, and they were asking, as Kathy indicated, for regulatory credit, and the course, only 2 of the 8 instructors were DEP personnel, and I told them that it has to, I quoted the reg in substantial part, and so that didn't work. That didn't comport with the request for approval. So the DEP submitted item number 4, I believe it is, separately for credit. But it's with that, if you look there, that's why I've listed AEHS Foundation. So it will be taught again from 2 to 5 p.m. during the conference on October 17th in Amherst, but it'll be substantially taught by DEP personnel.
So there's 2 separate requests, right? I mean, that was a separate request. I just want to make it clear that.
Yeah, but it's within the conference. So I don't know how you guys will sort it out, but like I said, that's what happened. That's what prompted the number 4 request for approval separate and apart by
Yeah, I
DEP.
think that's the way to go, because everything else at the Soils Conference is going to be technical credit, right? So let's have that approval separately, a separate course number for the DEP course.
Well, it was submitted separately after, as you know, after.
I think that's the way to handle it.
But as part of the approval for the AES Foundation's request, we need to specify that we're not approving that session for regulatory credit.
Well, they withdrew it. They withdrew it. If you look in AEHS, and they sent 4 different versions, so I'm not sure. I hopefully Barbara sent you the right one, but they withdrew the DEP request for approval, and you should have received a separate DEP request for approval.
Yeah, I see it.
We do have a separate one.
Yep.
Right.
All right. Motion to approve the AES Foundation Soils Conference, half technical credit per hour for conferences and 1 technical credit per hour at workshops.
So moved.
No, second. I need
Sorry. You're asking for an approval.
Yeah. So we have a motion and a second, correct?
Correct. Yes. Then we need to go through the roster.
Yes. Okay. So Craig.
Yes.
Deb.
Yes.
I'm yes. Greg.
Yes.
Jamie.
Yes.
Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Millie.
Yes.
And Paul.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passes. Next.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. 1 minute. Let me catch up to you.
Yep,
Craig,
yes.
Greg, Kathy, Millie, Paul, Jamie, and Kurt. Did I miss anyone in that roll call?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Deb.
And
Sorry.
Gail.
I got you. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Gail.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a request from NGWA. They're requesting credit for their conference that will be held in Burlington, Vermont in September. It's entitled Meeting the Challenges of Groundwater and Fractured Rock. They are requesting half a technical credit per hour of attendance at the conference proceedings and 1 technical credit per hour for attendance at the workshops. I actually thought that they had a field trip too. Or is
Yeah,
that what
they
they mean?
do.
Did they not request credit for that? I guess.
That discussion is in the overview. So it says the purpose of this field trip is to introduce the complexities of Vermont bedrock geology,
So
etc.
it doesn't apply to, I mean, it does apply though, because the bedrock isn't that different and the principles would apply. But they didn't request it, so.
Well, I just wanted to say that the actual attachment that Barbara provided us, there is discussion there with regards to the type is a field trip.
Right.
Is that your question?
I'm gonna, and just as an aside to Millie's comment, I'm going to communicate with National Groundwater Association. This was this particular person. No, I'm wrong about that. So they sent all those PDF files, and I don't think unless the board agrees, I don't think you need all that information. Oh, actually, I'm not sure if that was Rutgers or not. Okay, go ahead, carry on.
So Beverly, it appears that there's a course schedule here in the attachment. There's a Monday session, there's a Tuesday session, and then Wednesday is the field trip.
Okay.
Yeah, and it looks like the field trip's optional, but they're asking for, the same deal as the soils conference, like half credit for conference attendance and then 1 credit for workshop attendance. And I would presume that the field trip would be the same as a workshop. They'd be looking for 1-to-1.
Right, because we've done that in the past for other field trips.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
This actually looks like a good course. I mean, it's got some modeling, some fundamentals, and then it basically brings you to a site where there's perfluorinated compounds.
yeah, I mean, I think it meets the standard of other field trips that we've given credit for.
Mm-hmm.
The conference
full day.
itself certainly applies, and there's no question about that.
Yeah.
I'll make
It's
a
a full
motion.
day.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve as requested here.
Second.
All in favor? I'll do the roll call vote. Let me just fix the screen. Okay, Craig,
Yes.
Deb,
Yes.
Gail is a yes. Greg,
Yes.
Jamie,
Yes.
Kirk,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
And
this,
Millie said yes.
Millie, I'm sorry I missed you. I apologize.
No worries. That's fine.
Okay, so the motion passes and that one is approved. So
Mhm.
the final, I think it's the final item, isn't it, on the agenda?
No, it's not.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 4th item on the agenda is the request from Mass DEP for the per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, the hot topics that will be presented in association with the AEHS Foundation Conference, the Soils Conference in Amherst in October. They're requesting 3 Mass DEP regulatory credits, and I believe that meets the requirements of the for regulatory credit. Is that correct, Beverly, once they separated it out?
Well,
Yes. Yes. And you're looking at the time, it's from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., so that's 3 hours. So the instructors are DEP employees, so I think it, they met the standard for applying for approval. So it's just a matter of the board approving the content. And
Yeah, so I just wanted to say that this is really going to be an important session because the US EPA headquarters is coming out with new plans for change in toxicology, which will affect drinking water standards for the state of Massachusetts. And there's on the table a proposal to put in draft comment a federal MCL. So the toxicity, again, toxicity values will change in the future. So I think this content is important for LSPs and anyone who's rendering opinions at LSP at 21
I hope that they record it, and I hope that it becomes available on demand after this in-person conference if people can't make it.
I was going to make the
That's
same
right.
comment.
I was going to make the same comment too, that it's so important it has to be given again, because very few people would see it at this conference.
This is Greg. I agree with what you all are saying, but I make sure I'm looking at the right form. And it looks like there's only 2 out of the 7 presenters are from DEP. And I'm wondering if it
okay.
needs
So
eventually.
okay. Yeah, Greg. So what they did was separate it out. Chris, can you throw up the Mass DEP submission, which would be number 4? Please. I'm sorry. Please.
Yep. Let me find that.
No, of course. So this is what we're focusing on, Greg. Chris is going to put it up.
On DEP letterhead.
Yes.
Yes, and I'm again not trying to be difficult here, but I see
No,
one from.
I'm looking at the same thing, Greg.
What's that?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the same thing.
Okay.
Right. Well, that's what Chris is going to put up. So it's up to you. Again, the reg requires, as you well know, in whole or in substantial part. And 2 is not. And I told them both that 2 is 2 out of 8, and 2 out of 7 is not in whole or substantial part. So I don't know.
So right now
you've
got 2 out of 6. Is that? We've got Liz Callahan and Paul Locke. That's 2. Jim Occolini 3. Amanda Wade 4. Jenny 5, and Elizabeth 6. 2 out of 6.
Well, there's 7, and Andy Davis is.
At the bottom.
What are you guys looking at? The bios or?
Yes.
This is the August 4th, 2022 memo on Mass DEP letterhead.
Right. That's the one I'm looking at, and that's why I'm asking, does that 2 out of 7, again, we don't have information on the length of time each of the participants is speaking, and maybe there's a greater period of time that the 2 DEP employees are speaking, but just based on the number of participants as instructors, it doesn't seem to meet that criterion.
Well, and Greg, you're absolutely right, because it's not whether or not, it's not a matter, the regulation does not address the length of time that a presenter is actually part of the faculty. It is, that standard has to do with how the portion of the faculty who are DEP employees. So if the majority in whole or in substantial part.
Actually, if we don't have the agenda for the timing, the schedule, then Well, have we requested that for workshops, or is this being requested as a separate course? And therefore it needs to meet the other standard, which says we have to have the
Well, it's not,
schedule.
I don't think that's the issue, Gail. I think that the issue is whether or not you look at Mass DEP under 3.09 in whole or in substantial part taught by the instructors. And I don't think it meets that standard, regardless to how long each of the presenters is speaking. And also, you know, the material they're presenting.
Well, on the latter portion, the material that's being presented, that's definitely relevant with regards to perfluorinated assessments, because you've got site discovery. So in other words, landfills are being a source of PFAS and impacting drinking water, et cetera. So I'm not so concerned with regards to the scope, but the question becomes, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead, Millie. I'm sorry.
Oh, so again, I've reviewed the proposal, the course description. The course description is on par with where Mass DEP is at, based on just the ongoing policy regulations and just the body of work being performed by the department. The question becomes whether 2 out of 6 speakers is sufficient to qualify, whether it's as a regulatory standard or a technical.
Yeah, Millie, I don't think anybody's questioning the relevance of the course or the qualifications of anybody who's presenting. It's simply,
No, I get it.
does it meet the requirement? It is 2 out of 7.
Yep, I get it.
Yeah, this is Paul here. I was just going to, jump in and just, I mean, obviously we need DEP credits, and some of this, the subject matter here, you got Jim Occolini lab, and you've got, attorneys, and I don't know if like a course like this that's comprehensive and covering PFAS would be able to, for such a comprehensive course, would DEP really be able to provide those kind of experts, the lab, technical expert, the attorney, and some of these others, the risk assessor and some of the other subject matter. So I'm hoping this discretion, I don't know if we can apply discretion here, but it seems like, this course is intended to cover, a variety of topics related to PFAS, and not all of the subject experts, some of the subject experts, I guess they're non-DEP personnel, but they are, experts, and DEP has, wrangled them in to help provide the course. So, looking at the syllabus, it is, I mean, I know they fall short on the numbers, but it seems like it's certainly relevant, and,
Well, we've had this conversation before on other courses, and we recognize DEP's issues with having the number of people that they can have for these courses. But that being said, our regulations state, what I guess I would be.
Could I make come up with a solution that maybe it certainly is eligible, let's say, for 1 DEP regulatory credit and 2 technical credits?
No question about that, but that's not what they're asking for.
I know, but
that in the case that Greg's describing, where technical people are supporting DEP's regulations, that there has been at least one instance when we approved it for DEP regulatory credit.
And in that case, it was the LNAPL course that was given, and the DEP participant was involved in virtually every presentation by comment.
Yeah,
I also think I understand that the course is important. I understand that LSPs need the DEP credit, but you're on a slippery slope if you're going to allow this course to circumvent the requirement that it's, what they could do is break the course down so that it's just Paul and Elizabeth Callahan teaching the course, and then have the collaterals, the attorney and those folks presenting a separate course, because that's not DEP, so I mean, those are just my comments about, obviating the need for the course to be taught in whole or substantial part.
Yep, but Beverly, they're not going to get 3 credits from what Paul and Liz Callahan are going to do, and so it seems that the most reasonable solution is going to be give it 1 DEP regulatory credit and 2 technical credits, and that doesn't put us on a slippery slope at all.
Yeah,
No,
I agree.
Well, what I'm saying is that's what you have to do. I didn't say you couldn't do it. I just said that you have to find some way to circumvent the regulation or provide some kind of split so that it is, as you say, Gail, and as someone else has commented, 1 DEP credit for if, and that's if the presentation from Elizabeth Callahan and Paul Locke is 1 hour.
Well,
Or a substantial part of 1 hour.
Could we go back to Paul and Liz and ask them to maybe rework the syllabus and try and get the 3 credits to maximize it? Maybe they could, you know, maybe
that's up to you.
The program has already gone out for a soils conference, so I'm guessing that they can't do that part because it's gone out, and I don't think can speak for 3 hours on those subjects.
Well, they could, but it's whether, I mean, there's a lot to be spoken about, but it's up to them if that's what they're doing.
It would be a different course. It would be a different course because the other guys are presenting valuable information that you would want to hear.
Yeah, and I think we've got some discretion to decide what a substantial part means. If they're active participants for the entire thing, I don't see why.
Yeah, exactly.
Why do we have to require them to be speaking for 3 hours?
Because it's a numbers game. We don't. Hold up. I'm speaking, Kurt. All I'm saying is. Okay, go ahead, Kurt. Go ahead, please.
So there's a comment in there that says that all of the participants will be there the full time. So that means that 2 of the DEP employees will be there the full time. And that was Greg's comment on the last seminar that was a DEP seminar, is that they were there the whole time.
Well, not only there, Kurt, but participating in the conversation.
Well, I can definitely tell you that, I mean, when it comes to analyticals, DEP is going to speak to what is acceptable, not acceptable, despite Jim Occolini serving as vice president of Alpha Analytical, because we have a body of QA, QC, and in all of the above that basically speaks to the Mass DEP expectation. The same goes with the legal analysis, assigning or at least issuing notices of responsibility to potential responsible parties. DEP has a process for that. So I just, the notion that DEP is going to be silent on any presentation that speaks to freight and transport, legal, policy, or analytical, I can definitely tell this is going to be a very dynamic conversation.
But okay, so here's one solution. Here's a solution that we have sort of approved before. I think we have approved the concept before, which is that if DEP was involved in aspects of the development of the person's presentation, right? They've all been through it and approved what the person's going to say, then that seems to be similar to the NAPL course. And perhaps we could just get a statement from them that has been the case, that they've been intimately involved in the development of the other presentations and what's being said, so that it is all consistent with DEP policy, and then I'd feel more comfortable.
Well, they're submitting this request on DEP letterhead. I mean, I would think that that's part of the deal, right? I mean, they're sponsoring and presenting this course. So
not necessarily. What Gail is saying, Jamie, what Gail is saying, and Gail, you correct me if I'm mischaracterizing, that what you want rather is that the others, that that DEP staff Liz Callahan, Paul Locke, were instrumental in developing and approving the curriculum.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'd feel comfortable.
I agree.
I do think that Paul and Liz well understand the requirements of a DEP course.
No, because they submitted it and I had to tell them that it wouldn't fly, so they sent it to me again.
Is part of this going to be a panel discussion at the end?
I'm sorry, Paul, was that you or Craig? You asked a question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering if part of this is going to be a panel discussion where the DP will be obviously on the panel at the end, if there'll be any time for that as well.
That's usually the design.
Yeah.
Well, not
I've
always.
seen,
I mean,
well,
I don't think we should assume if it doesn't say that. We should not assume.
Say
says
all
that.
instructors will be available throughout the workshop for questions.
Exactly.
So whether or not they do Q&A at the end or after each subsection, you know, I guess is not relevant so much, but they are going to be part of the discussion for each one of these agenda items. They've made that clear in this description.
it's a everybody sits next to each other, they speak, and DEP weighs in comments.
I think the only problem we're struggling with is that we've denied other courses that have had other instructors. But the difference was when the DEP folks were involved in the development of the curriculum and basically approved what, you know, were there to say, I have blessed what this person is saying, essentially. Then we felt comfortable that we could call it a DEP regulatory course.
Well, I think part of the difference too, Gail, was that some of the other classes that we had denied before had a specific agenda where DEP was like the speaking instructor for just one subsection, and then they had other sections that were clearly being handled by other folks that DEP weren't a part of.
But that's what it's, see, here's the problem. We did not get from them the course schedule. We didn't get a listing of who's talking when, which is what we would ask to get that information.
Well, I think they just kind of put this catch-all in here saying that all instructors are going to be available for each section. So that would include DEP staff.
I don't think that's going to mean it because they've done that other times when we've said no,
So,
the instructors are still there.
It says all instructors will be available for questions throughout the workshop as well as during the panel discussion in a final Q&A period at the conclusion of the workshop.
I understand what it says.
Okay, go ahead.
It's not that. It's not that we don't understand. It's just trying to be consistent so that each time we have a consistent explanation for why we approved it, when other times I'm sure they've been available the whole time the course was on, but that's all I'm saying is if we just had a letter saying they were involved in the development of the curriculum and approved it, I'd feel comfortable.
Right. I would also say that I've taken courses where the DEP individual literally gave an introduction and then wrapped up at the end, and everything in between was by a separate entity, not DEP. And I don't want us to get into the habit of approving those kinds of courses for DEP credit if that's the way they're done. Now, again, I absolutely think that everything in this course is important and relevant to LSPs. So that's not the issue. It's just really they need to be true to the regulations and as we do to approve it. And so if the will of this group is to approve this, I think we should evaluate at the end and warn them in the future that we will not approve such courses if they are simply providing commentary on the important technical information that's being given.
Yeah. Well,
so why can't we approve it with and just ask them to approve it conditionally upon receipt of a statement from the department saying that they were involved and they approve of all the, you know, they are in accordance with all of the, or they concur with, sorry, all of the statements being made. It's part of statements being
That
made
may
by
be
the
a
other
good solution
inspectors.
right now, Gail. That I agree.
So
we have one
development,
more LS. Oh, sorry.
oh, just to say, so development and approval of all the materials,
Yeah.
the presentation.
Yes.
Yeah, they concur with the presentation materials. They were involved in the, you know, in the development of and concur with what's being presented. And then you're saying they were involved. That meets the same things in my mind as the Napa one.
Yes.
Can we table it for the next meeting, since this isn't going to happen until October anyways, and request that information from them and then vote at that point?
I think what happens is that the program goes out, which is
Yeah.
why they usually come back in August, because there's a production deadline.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so I'd rather conditionally approve it, assuming we will get that. And Millie, maybe you could make a call while we're if we take a break
No,
or
no,
something.
no calls. No calls
Okay.
about
All right.
no calls. The way we do this, Gail, as you know, is I've written down exactly what you've said, instrumental in developing and approving the curriculum, concur with all the comments. You want it, you understand coming from Paul this comment, or Craig, I'm so sorry, that the course content is important and relevant, and you're not looking to approve the course if DEP is merely providing comments to what others have said. Okay, and I can tweak that language. So it's up to you. It's entirely up to the board.
So my question is, can we conditionally approve it, assuming that we will get some sort of letter to that effect?
Well, I'm not going to issue an attendance certification form until there's final word on this. And that's the important part of the request for approval. So if you conditionally approve it before you've gotten the information, then they're going to want their certificate. I mean, that doesn't mean I have to issue it, but I mean, you understand where it's going. I don't know. When have you ever conditionally approved a course? And I mean, do you want me to issue the certificate when you're waiting for?
You don't have to issue the certificate until we get the letter from them saying that's the case.
Okay.
Correct, because this is not happening until end of October.
Yeah, that was the former comment. Okay.
They can say in their literature it's been conditionally approved, and then we could add a condition saying, and if not, it's approved for it's conditionally approved for 3. And
I think you should just wait until as you've done with all the other providers, until you've heard back from them. When you ask questions of the provider, you table the course. Typically, you table the course until you got pending receipt of the comment.
Yeah.
Not saying you have to do that in this case. I'm just saying that's past practice.
I think it's a little bit different just because it is a workshop that's out in Amherst, and people have to, it's more involved with the registration and travel. I think the timing is going to catch some people that need the credits and aren't going to be able to go if it's not conditionally approved.
What does that even mean, though? I mean, I'm withholding the attendance cert, and it's conditionally approved for how many credits? Can you?
Well, yeah, I would say I would vote to approve it for 3 credits if we get a statement from the DEP that says that they participated in the development of the course and concur with the statements being made by the non-DEP participants.
Or we could vote on whether or not to approve it as is, and just send that with a request to DEP that for in the future that they add some language to their requests in that regard.
But then we are violating our own regulation, and that's the problem.
I don't think so. I don't agree. I don't agree with that. I think that this as it's submitted is fine to approve this for 3 credits. And I'm happy to make that motion. We don't have to be unanimous. We just have to.
Do we have a second?
I'd second that. I'd second what Jamie just proposed. It's Paul here.
Well, no, can you write it? Can you speak it out more clearly? Can you say it again?
Motion to approve the DEP course for 3 DEP regulatory credits.
Okay.
And Paul would second that.
Are we going to include that as a condition that they provide additional information for future things, like you said?
I'm saying no conditions, but if it makes the board feel better about approving these in the future, that we could ask them to include that language in future requests.
And just to add to it, I don't know if this is on the table, but like since we're revising the board regs, wouldn't we maybe address that? I mean, that seems like pretty hard and fast rules.
I had that thought too, Paul.
Yep.
Actually, we've been through the regs 3.09 many times, and this is just now coming up. So if you want to amend the regs, if you want to amend the regs, that still doesn't make it applicable to this situation.
No, understood. Yeah, but
I think Jamie made a point just for context that Mass DEP is not the end all be all when it comes to all sort of subject matter expertise. And some of these folks that are joined in by way of this workshop serve as, for example, SARS contractors. So they have intimate conversation and dialogue with the regulatory agency, but they just basically serve as the analytical laboratory. So I think it's just the nature of what it is.
yeah, Millie, to add to that, that was my previous point, was that it looks like DEP has taken point on this course or workshop and has pulled in other subject, non-DEP subject matter experts that they feel comfortable with, and that's been part of our discussion. But I guess like in my mind, for future like a reg revision here, allow that flexibility for DEP to select other external subject matter experts to help present information. I guess that would be my proposal if we were editing the regs.
Yeah, as long as they ultimately review and approve the curriculum, that seems like it should be reasonable.
Yep.
I think the point is that they should have put that information in this application for approval, this request for approval, and not doing that begs the questions that we've been bringing up here. And Millie, just to be really clear, when DEP lacks specific expertise, it doesn't stop them from having opinions, and that's part of the problem. That's part of why we have regulatory credits. So you're getting DEP's information and understanding of a technical issue and how they're going to regulate and review, approve, or reject opinions made by LSPs.
Right. I would argue that we would never endorse or even put someone's name as a presenter on Mass DEP letterhead. That's just, at least speaking from the Southeast region, if we have a workshop, we would have full coordination.
I accept it. I accept what you're saying. I just think they should have put that in the request. And I hope they would do it in the future if they understand this conversation we've been having and struggling to be clear that we are not approving something that it's contrary to the regulations.
Well, let's be sure and give them that feedback. I think that's fine.
They did. I mean, we read it out previously. They did say all instructors will be available for questions throughout the workshop, as well as the panel discussion and final Q&A. So they're present throughout the entire workshop. The entire
present is not presenting that, and that's or having approved the materials that are being presented.
Okay, so do we have a motion on the table?
The regulations in the way we worded them, and that's the problem. And I certainly agree that it would help to reword the regulations perhaps to cover this instance. But I think the issue that we're struggling with is you have to be careful every time you do something that is not specifically directly, obviously in accordance with the regulations. You have to make it clear what the thinking was, and hopefully that would be captured in the minutes so that we'll have a record, so that the next time this comes up, we can say why something is or is not similar to what we are going to approve.
Well, and
That's
I
the
think that the regulations are substantially, or I won't say intentionally vague, but they're written such that it gives us that flexibility to define what substantial part means. It doesn't say must, DEP employees must be speaking throughout the course of the,
I know, but it does say it must be taught in whole. It must be, and must is not should. So there is no wiggle room there.
Substantial part.
It says must be taught in whole or in substantial part. And there's no way, as Greg has said, that 2 out of 7 presenters is substantial part. Now,
But can I just all I can say is what that effectively does is sort of narrows the content of a topic that a lot of
that's the point,
because
though.
DEP is not going to reinvent itself as A, B, or Z. Paul and Liz can only provide what they can through their their role for the agency, so they would not be speaking on legal aspects or others. And
with a motion and a second, I don't know if we can put this to a vote.
Yeah, if we're ready to put it, well, no, the question is there any further discussion? And hearing none.
I'm sorry. So what's the motion on the table? It seems like there were 2 different versions.
Jamie, do you want to restate the motion that was seconded? There was one that was seconded. Can you restate that?
The motion was to approve the course as requested for 3 hours of DEP regulatory credit.
And I seconded it, Paul.
Yes, and that was seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, I'm going to do roll call vote. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
I am, I'm still thinking. Greg?
I'm going to abstain.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
And I think it's, hold on, Kathy?
Yes.
And Paul. Millie, sorry, Millie.
Millie.
Millie's next.
Yes.
And Paul.
I'm a yes.
And I am halfway between abstaining and approving. So I'm going to say I was swayed by the argument that they would have been involved. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay, so the course was approved. Now, was it approved for 3 credits, I think, right? 3 Mass
That was the
DEP
motion, yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, and so do you want the DEP to participants to indicate whether or not they were instrumental in developing and approving the curriculum and concur with any comments being made?
If we could just provide that feedback, that we would like them to make sure that that is abundantly clear in future requests, so we don't have this debate all over again.
Okay, got it.
All right. So, Chris, could you put back up the agenda for the last, that was not the last one on the
The
list.
focus remediation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the agenda. We can.
It's like it says, focus remediation seminars will be hosting 7 virtual webinars that will consist of 6 to 7 technical presentations, totaling 2.5 hours.
This is similar to what they've done in person, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't, sorry, now I'm not sure. Was this virtual, or was it?
It says 7 virtual webinars that will
Okay.
consist of 6 to 7 technical presentations, totaling 2.5 hours of time, followed by a 15-minute Q&A session.
But
So
they
this is
did not add polling questions into the request, I don't think.
There's includes 2 multiple choice questions, 12 or 14 questions in total to satisfy the assessment of learning requirement. And each attendee requesting an MA CEU will be required to obtain a passing score of 70%. Our virtual webinar platform GoToWebinar monitors each registrant individually and their status and/or participation through the webinar duration.
Yes. And they've gone above and beyond what was necessary.
Yeah, they have remediation, ISCO, surfactant enhanced extraction, NAPL. There's a PFAS case, bioaugmentation, Superfund case study, Q&A.
So
I've
the
never
content,
found one that didn't apply. So I have not found one.
the content looks fine. What's tricky about this one is it looks like it's essentially 7 different courses because they're not all identical, but the problem is there's overlap between all of them. Some of them have the same presentation, one of the 6 presenters or whatever it is, across all the events, but they're not all identical.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure exactly how to approve that when you're getting the same content in multiple of these events.
So we could approve each individual event if that were the only thing an LSP attended. That wouldn't be a problem. It's if they attended more than one.
Right, exactly. But
it's almost like 7 courses. You're right.
But the CARES presentation, for instance, isn't like every single one of them or all but one of them, something like that.
There's like one agenda topic that comes up in various course outlines on different days.
There's a couple that overlap.
Yeah. Yep. So how could we word it so that we could allow approval of at least a single event per LSP, but then I think it's too much work for us to have to then sort out if there's duplicates.
Do we just approve this as one course?
You have to attend everything?
No. Anyone that is attended would get the 2.5 credits, but you can't attend another one for credit.
Right.
There's
So the maximum allowable.
I know, but that's not the way the attendance certificates work. I issue the attendance certificates based on, and this Focus Remediation Seminars group has sponsored these, has requested approval of these courses before. If you recall, we had one, I think in May or so, but in any event, the spring. And I think that you need to figure out, you're going to have to figure out or ask me to get back to the provider for them to specify where there is overlap. And I think actually that's something only the board members can do, because we can't have LSPs taking a course where there's overlap for their renewals, because of course the regs prevent that.
So
that was my point. If we just approve this as one course, you can hold the course on multiple dates, right? So each event would just be a different version of this course, but they can only take it for credit once. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know.
kind of what I was thinking. The only way we could do it is that way, I think.
Yeah, but where's the overlap? So I'm just trying to figure out how you exactly want me to word the attendance certification form. So the attendance certification form should read event 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 7, 6 or 7. And it should have all the dates and it should have all the times. And then how will they distinguish which course the LSPs actually took, which event they actually attended?
Well, how does it, I mean, that's the way it works for any other course, right? If once we approve a course, they can continue to offer it, you know, at different times. They just have to notify us when they put a new time on, right?
Right.
No, well, not exactly. So what I'm saying is, Jamie, you have raised the point that there's overlap. Let's take event 1 and event 2. If there's overlap, if a LSP takes event 1, he cannot then take event 2 if there's overlap in the curriculum.
Right. So we're saying give this whole thing one course number so they can only take one session for credit. If they want to attend others, that's fine, but they can only get credit for one of the 7 sessions.
Yeah.
Okay, but the course number would be, the attendance cert form would be for attendance. I just don't, I don't quite understand. Forgive me if I'm being obtuse, but I don't understand how I can issue one attendance certification form for all 7 events at different times.
I think I have a way to do it, which it would be, you give it a course number with an A, B, C, D, E, F, or G.
Okay, and so the LSP will know that he can't take the overlap, the course that overlaps. That is what I did in the past. When Focus Remediation Group in May or the spring submitted this sort of thing, I issued 7 different attendance certification forms.
Yeah.
So it's the same situation as when somebody comes in for reapproval of a substantially similar course with maybe just a minor tweak to it. We'll give it an A, or a B, so it's obvious that it can't be taken for credit a second time. I think that works here.
Okay. So you want me to, so you take the vote and tell me how you want me to handle it. Happy to do it.
Yep. Does somebody, well, first of all, does somebody want to make a motion?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve this course with a single course number with a letter denomination for each of the 7 events for 2.5 technical credits.
Second.
Sorry, I didn't.
So
somebody seconded. I just didn't hear who. I don't know if Beverly did. Beverly, you got the second?
Yeah.
Beverly?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah, did
Hello?
you get the second? Did you get who seconded the
I think it was
motion?
Paul or Craig. It was Paul or Craig, maybe Kurt. I don't know.
It's Craig.
Okay, it was Craig. So we got that. So any further discussion?
My only discussion is if an LSP takes course number 1766A and then submits a renewal that he's also taken 1776B, that's when he's going to find out that he couldn't take the courses because there's overlap.
That's right.
Well,
For
usually
example,
you can't take a number when it has a B. We've already said you can't take a course. You have a course number, and it's based on the course number.
That's consistent with past practice.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah,
so
no, I'm not saying it's not consistent with past practice. I'm just saying that it's going to happen. And
so Beverly, for example,
we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
So for example, there's a course that's very specific here. It's by the Keras Corporation, Darren Scuck, From Purple to Green, a transformative remediation approach, right? So that particular topic appears in some, but not all of the 7 events. So the motion has to be structured in a way that LSPs are aware that they're not going to get a double dip kind of second, bite of the apple, thereby generating 5 LSP credits. They're only getting 2.5 technical credits for an event, a course that has that one. They cannot go to event number 4, which also happens to have that same content.
But what I'm saying is they're going to have to figure that out on their own.
That's correct. I think it's just the truth. All we can do is truth in advertisement that they will only be provided with 2.5. They're only eligible for 2.5 technical credits, so long as they're not attending a second event that has the same talk.
Millie,
maybe-
even if the way we're doing it, even if it doesn't have the same talk, they won't get the credits, because we're saying when you give it a number and then the letters, they can only take one of those, period.
Then that's even easier. Then that takes the equation, the question out of the equation.
Exactly. It makes it way easier.
Yep.
They at least
So-
2.5 credits, but we can't do anything
That's
about
right.
the rest.
Well,
So
our other option here is to go back to the provider and say, we'll table this. If you're looking for this to be 7 different courses, you need to restructure this so that each one is unique and does not have overlap. So we could
That's
do
right.
that.
Yep.
And, you have courses that start in September. So on September 8th, all the way through December. There's 2 in September, 2 in October, 1 in November, and 2 in December. So there's opportunity to rework this if they want to offer future courses.
Well, can we still approve it the way we said, and then ask them if they want to rework it? We'll accept their,
Yeah, that's
suggestion.
I know, but hold on. You can't approve something and then tell them to rework it.
Well, if they want credits differently.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. But I'm saying that if you approve the course, it's either approved, tabled, or denied. I issue the certificate if it's approved. If it's denied, obviously I don't. If it's tabled, you want more information.
Okay, I guess we need more discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do people feel? We have a motion on the table. We have a second to do it one way, which is to give it a course number with an A, B, C, D, E, or F, or G designation, and they get to take one of those events for credit. And that's it. Do we want to vote on that, and then if or do we want to decide to send it back to the course provider without giving them an approval for any of the courses right now?
This is Paul here. I got a question. Beverly, when you do the form, you fill in the number of credits that are allowed, right? So you just fill in 2.5.
Yes.
Isn't that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
You've seen the forms, Paul, right?
Yeah,
so
of course.
Yes, of course, you've submitted them. So yes, it would have, but that's not the issue. It's not the number of credits. It's the content of the varying 7 events.
I mean, if you think that this is going to be a cause for confusion, someone's going to wind up coming up short on credits because they didn't understand that they couldn't take the same course number with an A and a B, then that probably warrants some sort of a technical bulletin. But this is something we've done in the past, so I don't.
Not quite, but yes, we've done A and B before. That says that there was a change in the course, and you're right, Jamie. The LSPs are charged with the knowledge that they can't what the reg says is that they can't repeat a course within the same renewal period.
Right,
but if
and I
the
think
event if the event is given a different title and it's held on a different day and there's just overlap, I believe the potential for confusion is there.
Well, if that's the case,
LSP.
maybe we ought to table it then and send it back and say we can't approve the 7 different courses with this much overlap. You need to make them 7 unique courses if you want approval for each one.
Or give them the option of saying someone could just get credit for one, and they can state that in their advertisement.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
it's perfectly reasonable. They have, and just say they have to identify that you can get credit for one of these workshops, but that's it. You can't get credit for others.
And maybe that works for September. You've got September 8th and the 22nd, and maybe they just withdraw the rest of them and resubmit as unique events, 3 to 6 or 3 to 7, whatever it is.
Yeah, if we approve it as one course, they may not want to do that many.
Well, they may be fine with that. I mean, we don't know, but I think it's fair to say this is what we can do. We'll do it. You requested this. This is how we can manage it. And if they want to take out so that each of them is unique, which they won't, because this is a business thing for them. They don't charge for these. They don't charge for these seminars.
It just seems like this Curris Corporation one, for example, is repeated throughout. So they're going to have to make a decision on that.
All right, so let's do it. How about this? I'll amend the, or do we even have, I'm lost now. Do we have a motion to approve this one? Yes, we do. I'll amend that to say that we should also add instructions to the provider that they must make explicit that only one of the 7 events is available for credit.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, and if they want to come back, yep, if they want to come back to the fold, it's going to have to be reincarnated without overlap.
Yep.
So is there a second for Jamie's revised motion?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. If not, I'll call the roll for the vote. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Greg?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie?
Yes.
And Paul?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's it. The motion passes. I think we are on to the next item on the agenda,
Okay,
which is
before
ahead, sorry,
before we no, I just had some questions about the certificate. I want to make sure I have exactly what you want me to do. So the course was approved. I am to notify FRS that LSPs they must notify the LSP that they can only take one event, one of the courses listed out of the 7, or they can retool it and resubmit it as separate. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, unique events.
Yes. There should be no overlap, so they have to be truly unique events with technical presentations that do not overlap.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So Gail, are you adjourning the meeting?
I was about, yes. So the next item on the agenda is just recognizing that the next meeting will be September 13th. And otherwise, I think the meeting is adjourned. Do we have to do it? We don't have to do a roll call to adjourn, right? We just adjourn?
No.
Nope. You're out. 1:26 p.m.
Yep. Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
Great job, Gail.
Thanks.
On the spot.
It was a challenging one.
Did a great job.
Yeah.
All right, so then professional conduct.
All right, I'll call to order the Professional Conduct Committee, 126. Virtual meeting minutes, Beverly's the same situation. Are they posted through May?
Yes, it is.
Excellent. Old business, if you could give us your report on the status of the CRTs.
Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of reporting. I've been doing other things, as you will find when we get to the board meeting. I have no idea where the redaction software is that's on one of our computers. So we're in the process of relocating the offices, so I'll talk in more detail about the impact of the move will have on administrative functions when we get to the board meeting. How that said, I have a report on 21C01. The complainant in 21C01 has requested copies of the LSP's response, and I wanted to know whether or not you board members will allow the complainant to have copies of the LSP's response.
I believe we've given them in the past.
Yeah, we have.
But I deal with it on a case-by-case basis, and I always get permission from the board before doing so. Is that even up to us, though? I mean, if this is a public record, do they have the right to it?
No, it's under investigation. It's not a public record.
Okay.
So have documents been rendered during investigatory process?
Yes, as I reported as I reported, the case was filed 21C01. The LSP filed his response, as I reported, I believe in June. And so we have the LSP's response. Yes, we do. And it was timely filed.
What was the reason? What is the reason why we would not give it to the complainant? It hasn't been a time in the past when we have not given it to the complainant, and what was the rationale?
I don't know. I mean, I think that's a decision for you guys to decide. If you're asking me to think about it from a legal perspective, it's kind of like, and I hate to use this analogy, but it's very similar to the execution of the search warrant at former President Trump's house residence. You have to, as the prosecuting authority, you have say-so as to whether or not documents obtained during the course of an investigation, which includes the LSP's response, should be handed over to the other party, or should be made. And once you do that, you're making them public.
Okay.
Because I don't, because I don't know how you put that horse back in the barn once you release it to the complainant.
Okay, Beverly, don't we, when everything's redacted, it gets presented in a public meeting and is part of the public documents that we present. So at a minimum, they get a redacted version, because that's a public
at a minimum, yes, absolutely, that's correct.
Okay, then that's all they need. I mean, that's fine. They know the facts. They know.
Has this response been redacted? Have we seen it? It doesn't. No, Deb, you haven't seen it, because I just said I don't know where the redaction software is. Right.
That's been the holdup with a number of these cases, and I'll address this during the board meeting. But
so I do have a legal question, which is, will sharing of this information compromise the investigation?
Yes, it could.
Okay.
I'm not saying it will. I'm saying it could, because if I turn over an unredacted copy of the LSP's response to the complainant, then you're kind of making it public if you give it to him.
Well,
Because
That's
we,
precisely,
yeah,
yeah.
Well,
Right.
if the board hasn't even had a chance to review it yet, I mean, would it make sense to say we'll consider the request once the board is, I mean, that kind of doesn't make sense to me that we would
Yeah.
send that document before the board's even had a chance to review it.
That's
And
right.
I feel like absence of any redaction, it's sort of going against the rubric of what this board has always done, which is, basically ensure that everything is thorough and information, that could be tied to a person is kept confidential until we have that moment for public
yeah,
document sharing.
More importantly, I think we absolutely shouldn't give it to them till we have it, and we will all have a redacted version. That's the public version. And there isn't any problem with giving them a public version once it's redacted.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like at a minimum, the redaction is very important.
okay.
So just tell them we can't do it till it's redacted. They can't have it till it's a public document, and it won't be a public document till we have seen it in a meeting.
I have that. Yep, I've talked. I have that. And this particular complainant, as you recall, I found this complaint in a box one day. So I've maintained a lot of close contact with the complainant to assure them that we're now working on this. So he or she will understand that, and I'll move forward with the comments that you gave me. The other case that I'm reporting on is 22C01. That file, the complaint was sent to the LSP. The LSP then had, I believe, 21 days to respond. His or her response was due on August 10th. Before that due date, the LSP's attorney contacted me, and I assented to an extension of time on August 8th to October 3rd, 2022. The attorney was on trial or something to that effect, a hearing or a trial, and they represented that. And I just, took them at their word. So I assented to the LSP's response not being filed until October 3rd.
And we don't have the redaction software anyway, so it's not going to change timing at all.
Well, I'm going to work on that because again, July was my programming month, and in working on other things, I wasn't able to track down exactly where the software is because we're in the process of office relocation, and I'll talk more about the disruption that's going to cause during the board meeting. But those were the only cases I had any movement on.
All right, thank you. Is there any other new business? Beverly, is there any other new business?
I have none.
I have none.
Okay, then with that, the next meeting will be September 13th, 2022 virtually, and I will adjourn the professional conduct committee meeting at 1:36.
Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon. Welcome to the LSP board.
I have a comment from one of the participants, attendees.
Okay.
It says, "Hi Chris, it seems another DEP memo submitted to the board on August 3rd was not on the agenda. The memo pertained to the previously approved wetlands and the MCP course and was an update to inform the board that a second date for the course will be added due to high demand and also a slight instructor adjustment. If you could mention this prior to the close, I'd appreciate it. Thanks." That was from Nancy Fitzpatrick from Mass DEP.
Okay, what did she say again, please? what wasn't mentioned, an update and a request for approval?
A DEP memo submitted to the board on August 3rd was not on the agenda. The memo pertained to the previously approved wetlands and the MCP course and was an update to inform the board that a second date for the course will be added due to high demand and also a slight instructor adjustment. If you could mention this prior to the close, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, well, that is my fault. And so let me just look here and see exactly what Ms. Fitzpatrick is talking about. Hold on one second, I apologize. And this is under continuing ed. So Nancy Fitzpatrick is asking about this. All right. Okay, so what I have here, Nancy, can you, Ms. Fitzpatrick, can you respond? Was the course 1164B?
Nancy said yes.
Okay, well, I've already, that was administratively approved and she already has the certificate. So the only remaining information would be an announcement, and I'll make that announcement now. I issued the attendance certification form to Ms. Fitzpatrick on, she submitted it to me on August 8th, and I sent the attendance cert form that same date. So I will make the announcement now. It should have been listed under announcements, not reapproval. So the course is wetland regulations and the Massachusetts contingency plan. It is for the cert was issued for 4 DEP regulatory credits and 4 non-DEP regulatory credits. The course will be held October 3rd, 2022 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Boxborough Regency Hotel and Conference Center in Boxborough, Mass. That's the announcement.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, we're all set, Millie. Take it away.
Okay, thank you so much, Beverly. So welcome to the LSP board meeting. Thank you. And I'm calling this meeting to order at 1:39 p.m. So announcements, does anyone have any announcements to share with the board members or members of the public? I don't have any announcements. Beverly, do you have any before we move on? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move to the agenda adoption portion of the meeting. Any additions, deletions?
Yes, I have an addition to the agenda, and the addition is board member term limit status. And so it should be under other business, section 16.
Okay, so
I have a report. Yep.
So let's make it 16G. So term limits, does that capture it, Beverly?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Okay, any additions, deletions, changes? So the agenda will be adopted as our final meeting agenda with the inclusion of the term limits topics under 16G, other business. All right, so we heard from Beverly with regard to the virtual draft meeting minutes. Thank you for that. They've been posted. Number 5, we're going to talk today about licensing of applicants. So the board members, we were provided with 4 renewal dockets for board action. And docket number 1 consists of 25 LSPs who have completed all the requirements for renewal by July 30, 2022, and whose license will now have a new renewal date of July 30, 2025. Any questions? And if none, I move to approve docket number 1, and I need a second.
Second.
Okay, so please say yes when I call your name. Craig? Craig?
Yes.
Okay. Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Okay. Greg?
Yes.
Jamie? Jamie? Okay, I'll move on to Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes. Paul?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Docket number 2 consists of 2 LSPs, and these 2 LSPs, they requested a 90-day extension, and their license now will have a new renewal date of October 28, 2022. If there are no questions or comments, I hereby move to approve this docket number 2. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, thank you. So please say yes when I call your name. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jamie? Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries. Docket number 3 consists of 3 LSPs who have completed the renewal within the 90-day extension that was granted, and whose license will now have a renewal date of April 30, 2025. If there are no questions, I move to approve docket number 3. And do I have a second?
Second.
Please say yes when I call your name. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries. Finally, docket number 4 consists of 1 LSP who has completed the requirements within 1 year, and whose license will now have a renewal date of July 30, 2025. If there are no questions, I move to approve docket number 5. And do I have a second?
Yep, second.
Docket number 4?
That's correct.
Okay, you said 5.
Yeah, docket number 4.
Okay,
Okay.
clarifying the record.
Okay, great. Thank you. Docket number 4. I have a second. So when I call your name, please say yes or no or abstain. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and Paul.
Yes.
Motion carries. Let's move on to assigning application review panel number 327, Ryan B. Morley, number 2200. And the board needs to form an ARP specifically for this panel. Beverly, if you can help us with this action.
No, I just need volunteers.
No volunteers.
Any volunteers?
Kirk.
Okay,
I can do it, Jamie.
Jamie. And Millie.
No, you need an LSP.
You need an LSP.
Okay,
This is Paul here. I'm happy to do it.
okay,
Oh, thank you, Paul. All
great.
right, all
So
set.
the ARP is Kirk, Jamie, and Paul. Other licensing matters, Beverly, if you don't mind just providing us with an update. Actually, this item 6 plus items 7 through 13.
Yes. There are, as of August 11th, 449 licensed LSPs. There is currently one LSP who is on inactive status. Pardon me. There was an LSP who had been on inactive status. His 2 years was up in June, and he received a letter. I don't know whether or not he or she has come back into the fold, but a letter was sent. So I am moving now to item 7, unpaid January fees. So there are 3 LSPs who have not paid their January renewal fees. There are 2 LSPs who have not paid their April 22 renewal fees. There are 4 LSPs who have not paid their July 30th, 2022 renewal fees. And there, as for item 10, there are 6 LSPs who have not paid their annual fee. This is as of August 11th. The exam committee report, I have gotten an extension approved on the LSP license exam software. If you recall, someone at DEP made a mistake and didn't pay the fee, so Chris Borges was cut off, so we couldn't have the exam committee meeting. I will schedule an exam committee meeting soon. All of this pending on the relocation move, which I'll get to. The 2022 LSP examination, I'll talk about in the context of the relocation of offices. We now have, let me see, we now have in queue to sit for the exam, not counting the application review panel today, we have 13 LSPs who are eligible to sit for the exam. So that seems like it'll be 2 days worth of exams, but I'm not sure because we're going to be out of the building. We're actually packing up. So the buildings certain buildings are open to the public again, but I am looking at offering the exam at the new LSP offices at 100 Cambridge Street through EEA, but I don't know yet. So I've got to get that sorted out. I've told the 13 eligible LSPs the 13 applicants that the exam will be offered in late summer or early fall. I'm hoping to do that, but I don't know where and I don't know when because of the move. The next agenda item is number 13, and that's LSP exam challenges. We have an LSP who took the exam in December of 2021, and that LSP challenged a number of questions. If you recall, the questions were reviewed by our technical expert, and the technical expert found that one of the LSP's challenges should be honored. And what do you know? The LSP who failed the exam only needed 1 point to pass. So what you're looking at now is whether you can take a vote. The exam challenge, by the way, was sent to David Austin. The exam challenger's review was sent to the chairperson of the challenge committee, and David is not here today. David Austin is not here today, but he indicated that he approved agreed with the challenger. I'm sorry, the reviewer.
Beverly, it was also sent to me.
Yes, I'm sorry, Gail. I left you out of that equation. Gail, you can weigh in right now.
Yes, and we did agree with John Fitzgerald as to whether or not the challenge would be accepted, and we agreed that it could be.
Okay. So, Millie, you need to take a vote on whether or not the board approves the recommendation of both the reviewer and the exam challenge review committee comprised of David Austin and Gail Batchelder.
Right, so I'm going to put my faith in their technical acumen and expertise. And with that, I move to accept and adopt the recommendations from the LSP exam challenge chair committee.
Second.
Okay, with that, we're going to vote on this recommendation. Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes, and Paul?
Yes.
Motion carries to accept
Okay.
the recommendations.
Quick question on this.
Okay.
Does anything happen to that particular question?
Yeah, and that's for the we're going to review it in the exam committee because the reviewer also made a number of other recommendations as based on the exam takers' challenges and indicated that there should be some tweaking of the exam questions. So yes, it'll go. So what will happen? It was Jamie who asked the question. Yes. So Jamie, yeah. So I'm. So it's going to the tweaking of the questions will go back now to the exam committee for further review, and the tweaking that the reviewer recommended. But so we're going to have a new LSP. I'll send around that announcement. I'm sure he or she will be absolutely overjoyed. So thank you. This has only happened, by the way, one other time. I can actually, almost 8 years ago, I can actually remember that LSP's name, where he or she needed just one question to pass the exam, and they got it by challenging. So this is a very rare, it's a very rare thing.
Well, I want to thank the members of the committee for their hard work and open mind. We appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I'm the one who typed everything up and got it handled, but yes, thank me too.
Well,
thank you.
I see you as part of the group, so for sure. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so with that, Gail, if you could kindly provide us with a board, provide the board with a report back from the Continuing Education Committee. Okay. And I believe that we have some recommendations for us to, for the board to discuss and vote.
Yes. So we were all present, so I'm going to make this as short and sweet as possible, but the Rutgers requested approval of an MGP conference. It was approved for half a technical credit per hour of attendance at the conferences and 1 technical credit per hour for attendance at the workshops. The AEHS Foundation, which is represents the Soils Conference at UMass, made the request for half technical credit per hour for the conference itself and 1 technical credit per hour of attendance at the workshops. The NGWA conference, meeting the challenges of groundwater and fractured rock, the board approved half, or the education committee approved half a technical credit per hour of attendance at the conference aspect, and 1 technical credit per hour of attendance at the workshop, which apparently is a field trip. For the, as part, the Mass DEP requested approval of a separate workshop that is affiliated with the Soils Conference, per and fluoroalkyl substances, hot topics. And the board, after extensive discussion, approved that workshop for 3 DEP regulatory credits. And the last item, the Focused Remediation Seminars group requested approval for 7 different events spanning from September through December. Each of the events was for 2.5 technical credits, and the board voted to give the entire group 1 number with a letter designation afterwards for each individual event, because there was overlap in some of the presentations. So it was determined that an LSP would only be able to get credit for 1 of the events. So it would be a single letter designation after the course number, unless, and we also made the recommendation that the course provider could come back to us with a retooled group of events if they wanted to. So with that, I think that covers everything.
Mhm.
Oh,
just
and
make-
we did have an announcement that was made about we did have an announcement made about the wetlands in the MCP course. It was just made a few moments ago. It will be same course, just offered again because of the high demand.
Yes.
I'll make a motion
so
to approve the recommendations of the Continuing Education Committee.
Yep, second. So please say yes when I call your name. Craig?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Kirk?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Millie is a yes. And Paul?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt the recommendations. There were no other business items that were discussed. So with that, Jamie, if you could provide the board with a report back from today's Professional Conduct Committee meeting.
Yes. Briefly, Beverly reported that they're in the process of recovering the redaction software so we can move to the next step on several of these complaints. And specifically, we discussed 20 CO1, where the complainant requested a copy of the LSP response, which the board instructed that would only be provided after redaction, and the board has had an opportunity to review. And then 22 CO1 was discussed, and that the LSP's counsel requested additional time to respond to the complaint, which was granted. There was no items that require a vote, and that is the report.
I just want to clarify, Jamie, you said 20 CO1. It was 21 CO1.
Oh, thank you for that clarification. Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody was on board with regards to the recommendation to only provide the information after redaction. So I presume we don't need a vote, but I believe that that was the general sentiment from the board members, correct?
Yes, that was.
Okay, great. So, okay, moving on, Beverly, if you don't mind, just please continue on with other business, items A through G.
Yeah, we had the regulations committee meeting today, and we've noted some changes and tweaks to the language that I'll present at the next board meeting. Item 16B, I want to report on, give the budget report we just submitted the LSP board budget, I believe last week, or I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago. The budget has remained unchanged for years. We are line item 2260-8881 on the Commonwealth budget. We have requested $8,488 for consultant services, $5,000 for operational expenses, $2,000 for travel, $4,000 for administrative expenses, $1,000 for infotech, to reach a total of $20,488 as the budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Now, the issue is the software license, the exam software license, and something else I'm going to talk about in just a second, but that's the budget report. With respect to personnel, I am working with EEA to review the resumes submitted for all 3 positions. I'm going to review the resumes by September 9th. They have, EEA has assigned a staff person to schedule the interviews and work with setting up hiring panels. That meeting about the setting up the interviews and all of that is going to take place on August 22nd, Monday, August 22nd. So I'm moving forward with the hiring process. We'll see where it goes. With respect to the board request for a trip, I had a person who would have started this week, but the person decided not to. There was a lot of delays and a lot of, not on my part, a lot of delays, and the person decided not to take the trip. Because if you recall, in June, I indicated that I had someone who was very interested and very qualified to serve as an investigator / continuing ed coordinator, and that person backed out. Changed their mind. That's a poor choice of words. That person changed their mind. So the trip is not happening. Public records request, item 16D. I do have to get back to the reporter from Salem News. He had made a further inquiry, and I've supplied him with a lot of documents, the last in June. So I have also invited this reporter to attend a board meeting so that he can get a fuller picture of what's going on. But there is one sort of outstanding public record request. The reporter went back to DEP, but I have to respond. Hopefully I'll get that done next week. With respect to online fee payments, I have a meeting tomorrow, August 17th, with the team about the implementation, of online fee payments. If you recall, I've had several meetings with staff, and so what's going to happen with online fee payments is that they are not going to cover annual fees. There's apparently, and I'm hoping that may change. We'll see. I'll report back at the next meeting on my meeting tomorrow with IT and other folks about online fee payments, and maybe, but we can include annual fees. But we're definitely going to be able to have online fee payments for the LSP exam registration, for the quarterly renewal fees in January, April, and July. Application fees, renewal fees, and I think exam fees. That was the other one. So we're trying to get those payments online. So I'll report back after tomorrow's meeting about what progress we've made on that. I want to talk about 16F, the LSP board relocation. We have the last day in the Winter Street offices will be October 7th, 2022. We're moving to 100 Cambridge Street. They have the EEA is in the process of hiring someone, as I mentioned before, to pack up all the files and cubicles. We got an estimate yesterday, 8:15, although I've been asking since 2021 because I knew we needed this. And the estimate that we received yesterday was $18,600, not counting tax, to box up everything, to separate all the files for all the LSPs that have the files that have been stacked up since, I believe, 2018. But the problem is the budget. I mean, I just told you that our budget is $20,488. And that's not what's left. That's what we're hoping to get. So I don't know how we're going to pay $18,600, especially when it's not our fault that, you know, we've incurred these costs. I'll report back on who pays for it and how it gets paid at the next board meeting. But I wanted to say that this is going to be extremely disruptive. I'm trying to hire, and that has to be done by September. I'm trying to find a location for the exam, and I have to supervise getting all these files, $18,600 worth of work supervised and attended to and moved. So I don't know what's going to happen with the next board meeting, which is scheduled for September 13th. I don't know if we're going to be up and running by that date. I don't know any of that yet. I'm meeting with folks on Thursday to try and make that determination as to who's going to pay for the boxing of the files and where we're going to go and when we'll be up and running. Because again, we have to be out of the building. The last date that will be allowed in the building is October 7th. So it's going to be really disruptive. And we'll just have to see where it goes. I'll make sure that I have the board members informed, continuing ed providers informed, everyone as soon as I have more details on the move.
I have a question.
With respect, of course.
Does our budget include staff?
No. Staff salaries are a part of Mass DEP's budget. Does that answer your question, Kurt?
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Lean, I just have a quick question on the timeline. You stated that EEA, you're working with EEA to review the resumes, and you stated by September 9th, correct? But I just didn't know what the Monday, August 22nd date was about. My apologies, I just didn't catch that.
August 22nd? Oh, yes. The August 22nd date is when I'm meeting with staff that's going to assist me in scheduling interviews and all of that, just the preliminaries, scheduling interviews and sitting on the interview panel because I'm the only staff person, so I need help with that. So they've assigned someone to help. They've assigned someone to help me, and I'm meeting with them to set that up. I know that's kind of putting the cart before the horse. I haven't reviewed the resumes, but yeah, we're going to get that in place so that we can set aside dates for interviews. But like I said, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done and make sure that, you know, our offices are moved and up and running. I mean, electronically, we'll still be able to handle most things, but in terms of the mail, thankfully, you know, we'll be out of Winter Street and into the new offices before the October 30th, 2020 renewal date, because I don't know anything about the mail or even what floor we're going to be on. None of that. None of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Beverly, I had a question for you on the online fee payments. Do we need to have any sort of changes in the regs to allow that, or in place for when it goes in effect, or is it covered?
We probably will need to amend the regulations, but we'll send out a notice to LSPs about how they, once it's instituted. But I need to get guidance from the IT staff at EEA, because the IT staff at EEA is the one who implemented fee payments online for permits. Actually, the LSP board has kind of been left behind in this movement, because a lot of the fees are paid, as you know, online. And so we're just trying to get in lockstep with the rest of the agencies in the Secretariat by doing this. But yeah, Paul, that's a good suggestion.
Okay.
Other comments or questions that I can answer? Okay.
No, I think you had the, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Millie, you had a question?
Oh, no, I think you were going there. I'm sorry. You added a new item under 16.
Right.
Yeah.
16G. Okay, so on the board member term limits, yesterday I responded to an email from the EEA, which is reporting to the governor's board of the governor's board and commissions office. And so what they asked was the term limits for all of the board members, and also this addresses those of you who have requested reappointment, because there are some reappointment requests that are outstanding. There are some requests for board members who do not want to be reappointed. And so I prepared a memorandum that went to, I prepared a memorandum for EEA that will go to the governor's office, whoever is the rep on that. So,
do we get to see that memo, or how do we know, or is that an executive session?
It's an internal memo, and Millie, I sent you the memo on October 21st, 2021.
That's a memo. Okay.
And I added the newly appointed, it covered board members up through Patrick, and I added the information on the appointment of LSP board member Ellis and LSP board member McKinley, and their expiration date.
Notwithstanding folks that are on an expired term, we're currently full, right? We have a full board?
Yeah.
First time in a while.
Yeah. Thanks to me. Because I do all the paperwork, all the recruitment, as Paul and Craig will tell you. In Patrick's case, we had a different format, but so the point the reason I added this to the agenda was so that those of you who have requested not to be reappointed, those of you who have requested reappointment will know that the governor's office is aware of your request. And, you know, this is an aside, but this is what happens. As you know, Governor Baker is not running for re-election. So he is in the process now of, he's a lame duck, so he is wrapping up for his successor, whoever that may be, the standing of all boards and commissions. so that the new governor's transition team will have that information. I don't know whether they plan on acting on any of the requests for reappointment at this time, but they asked me for that information yesterday, and I turned it over to them yesterday because in anticipation of the question, I prepared a memo internally for the secretary and the commissioner in October of last year. So I'm not saying you're going to hear anything about your request for reappointment. I'm just saying that they're made aware that it's outstanding. And that was all I had.
Okay, any questions? Hearing none, our next board meeting will be held virtually on September 13, 2022, notwithstanding any changes. And this board meeting is adjourned at 2:17 p.m. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks, Millie. Thanks, Beverly. Thanks,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.